I was shrunk down, dropped in a huge backyard full of horrible insects, cockroaches, stink bugs, spiders, and even scorpions. I'll have to face horrifying bosses, survive an army of brain-controlled creatures, build a home, rescue my kidnapped friend, and find out who's truly behind all of this.
What is wrong with you?
Welcome to my first 100 days in Grounded 2. I woke up in a medical science room. Stepping outside, I found myself in Brook Hollow City Park. Right next to the window, I saw some awful cockroaches. After continuing down the hallway, I found the TV. A Dr. Tully assassinated a robot called Burgle. My mission was to find them. I hopped onto a weird tube machine that sent me to another part of the lab, where I stuck my arm into another machine that equipped me with the Scabby, a wrist-mounted device. This thing gave me access to all sorts of different menus, like a Pip-Boy. Moving forward, I eventually found a resource analyzer. I grabbed a pebblet and a sprig from the ground and put them in. This gave me new recipes like a spear, raw science points, and something called brain power. Increasing this would unlock even more recipes. After some more analyzing and looting, I managed to craft my first spear. The next room was dedicated to combat training. I killed some little bugs easily. It was quite nasty, with goo all over the ground. Then a phone rang. I followed the sound upstairs and answered it. It was Burgle, the robot from before. He was taken hostage by a woman, it seemed. Either way, it was time to step into the wild. It was beautiful. Seeing everything on such a scale was amazing. All the creatures going about their business. Finally, I reached the first ranger outpost, the snack bar. There, I picked up the Omni tool from the wall. It was basically a really futuristic Swiss Army knife. I got another phone call, but the door was locked. I needed to find how to get there. In the meantime, I grabbed some fiber bandages and more from a shelf. I analyzed it and unlocked the recipe for arrows. Thanks to my new tool, I was able to chop down some more grass and grab grass planks. I could carry them over my shoulder, up to 5 of them. I probably needed a station to cut them up, but for now I just dropped them on the ground. I still needed to reach the communications array for that call, so I kept walking, admiring the bugs again. But then I found a lifeless body. I was rummaging around his backpack, grabbing some bandages and more, until an insect started attacking me. I ran as quickly as I could, taking glimpses of the creature, healing myself with the bandage. But the bug wouldn't give up, so I decided to fight back. It didn't work. Thankfully, I reappeared at the outpost, but all of my stuff was lost. I needed to retrieve my backpack, where I died. On the way, I fought a few mites. These ones were much easier to fight. Right after, I found a small cave. It was pitch black. I needed a torch, but I didn't have the materials for it. I will check this out later. I headed straight to my backpack, grabbing it and recovering all of my stuff. The thing is, the larva started chasing me again. I quickly ran as fast as I could. I tried fighting back, but that bug hit really hard. I had no other choice than to hide inside the outpost. Once I was safe, I analyzed more materials, finally hitting brain power level 1. That unlocked more recipes, including a full clover armor set, clover hood, clover poncho, and clover shin guards. Back outside, the larva found me again. It was impossible to do anything. 2 of them were after me. I kept running for ages. When I thought I'd lost them, I tried chopping up some stuff for resources. While doing so, I kept hearing a strange humming noise. By jumping on top of a leaf, I saw a weird orb thing floating. Picking it up gave me raw science. Not bad. The sun was going down and I needed a place to sleep. I had no idea there was a construction menu I could open, so I went around analyzing more materials, getting new recipes, and running away from larvas. While escaping, I found myself inside the cave. I couldn't see a thing, but I didn't stop. Following some lights, I arrived at the other side of the outpost. I had to fight a lot of mites there. With that done, I finally answered the call. It was Miss Sloane Beaumont. She said a swarm of insects had attacked the area and someone was controlling them. On top of that, a researcher was missing. She sent me the coordinates and agreed to help me find the robot I was looking for. Sloane also unlocked the Ranger Station terminal. Checking it out, this thing let me spend raw science points and get upgrades. I bought Cooking 101, which unlocked the ability to build a kitchen and cook meals. But I ran out of points before I could upgrade the Omni tool, which was much more important. I also took a quick look at the Ranger challenges. They were things like crafting a clover hood, building a lean-to, and setting up a roasting spit. My next goal was to get more raw science to purchase the Omnitool upgrades, like the hammer, shovel, and so on. Then a warning popped up. I needed to drink something or I would die. Thankfully, just as I ran outside, I stumbled upon a dewdrop and drank from it. The night was pitch black, so I chopped up some dry grass and crafted a torch. Thanks to it, at least I could see a few meters around me. I wanted to craft a clover hood, but I needed a workbench to do so. That's when I discovered the construction wheel, which was separate from the crafting wheel. It let me build things like the roasting spit and the lean-to. I was setting up the tent, but then the larva showed up again. I ran inside the outpost, tried building the tent there, but I couldn't. I hated those bugs. To avoid the larva, I had to go through the cave and come out from the other side. There, I was finally able to craft a lean-to and went to sleep. The next morning, I crafted a trail marker. This let me place a custom icon on the map as a waypoint. I was dying of thirst, so I went to a nearby pond and drank some murky water. It saved me from dying, but I got sick. It looked like the only way to recover was to sleep it off. On top of that, I had reduced stamina. Eventually, I found some dry grass chunks and used them to build a roasting pit. That rewarded me with raw science. I could cook bug meat here, but of course, the larva kept chasing me. It was so annoying. Once I lost it, I threw some meat to roast. I could actually see the pieces turning slowly over the fire. Cooking them gave me even more raw science points. After I ate the food, I had temporarily increased both my stamina and my health. Back at the ranger station, I was finally able to upgrade my Omnitool, specifically the hammer function. This let me break open an acorn, which dropped some useful resources that would come in handy soon. Nearby, I spotted another one, but I wasn't alone. A spider was there. I got the hell out of there fast. Back in the lab, I analyzed the acorn shell and unlocked a ton of recipes, including armor pieces. I also gained another brain power level. Now I was able to make things like a shield, a canteen, and a water container. With the raw science I earned, I wanted to buy the Omni shovel, but it requires some seeds. Looking around, I saw something that looked like a flower up above. I chopped it down and sure enough, it dropped what I needed. I unlocked the shovel. Just as I was going to sleep, I got attacked by another larva. As usual, I had to run into the caves to lose it, and I finally was able to get some sleep. Now it was time to follow Sloane's coordinates. I discovered the snack bar anthill nearby, had a couple of objectives: to investigate the place and also analyze a grass plank. I wasn't sure how to analyze the plank yet, so I kept investigating, finding some pebbles I could break with the hammer. But things went south. Just as I respawned, I appeared stuck in a spider web. Trapped, I found myself surrounded by spiders and a larva. They were about to kill me again. It was awful. I quickly sprinted towards the location of my last death to retrieve my backpack. Thankfully, I was able to recover it and get the hell out of the anthill. In order to continue the main objective, I needed to get stronger. That meant figuring out how to build a workbench to craft some armor and weapons. I wanted to stop dying for once, and maybe finally defeat the larva. Here is when I realized how to analyze a grass plank. All I had to do was carry one over my shoulder, all the way to the resource analyzer. That simple step unlocked a ton of recipes, including the workbench. I only needed 3 grass planks, a sprig, and some sap to build it. Once I did it, I started working on my armor. First, I went with the clover hood. It looked pretty good, and completing it gave me more raw science. The hood also had a perk. Dodging used less stamina, but there were other armor options too. The might hat, for example, offered better resistance and reduced stamina cost, but it required a grub hide, which I didn't have. Another option was the acorn face mask, a spooky looking thing that boosted max health and made melee attacks generate more threat. Maybe enemies could get scared of me. I went with the acorn chestplate next, hoping it would give me much better protection, which I desperately needed. I felt confident enough to try my luck. Couldn't believe how brutal the combat was. One of the things that I loved about Grounded was the unique feeling of exploring the open world, delving into unknown places, contemplating everything. It reminds me of games like StarCraft X, where you have to survive in the exclusion zone, doing quests, experiencing random events, and even coming across real stalker players. In StarCraft X, you are dropped into an open world, where you can play with friends, do PvP or PvE, all while being free to play. There are dozens of upgrades for your weapon and gear, including sights, handguards, grips, and muzzles. You can be a silent scout to an assault trooper with a heavy shotgun, and whatever you carry out of a raid is yours. If you die, you lose the loot you found, but keep what you had equipped. Every encounter is super intense. You can join multiple factions, from the free-roaming Dawn, the militarized Frontier, the ruthless Mercenaries, or the fanatical Covenant, each with its own allies, enemies, and questlines. The game is constantly updated with new events and game modes, arenas, battle royales, and much more. Whether you're into PvP or PvE, there's something for everyone. For example, Deathmatch and Gun Game lets you warm up with 10 minutes of pure PvP, no prep, only action. Be sure to click the link in the description and use my promo code to receive rewards and bonuses for new and returning players. Don't forget, check the link below and try StarCraft X. After retrieving my backpack for the 100th time, I wanted to see if I could build a bow. To do that, I needed gnat foss. On the way, something happened. I managed to defeat the larva. Finally! I was able to harvest it and took its spike to the resource analyzer, unlocking more recipes. I decided to switch to the acorn face mask to specialize even more in combat. While exploring under the cover of the night, I fought a spiderling, which granted me some web fiber. With them taken care of, I was free to kill some gnats. They looked like tiny flies, and their materials were really useful. I'd be able to use them for crafting a bow, for example. I kept collecting as many things as I could. Finally, on day 4, I was able to make my own bow. I also wanted to craft some better melee weapons, but I didn't have enough materials. I needed to hunt more insects like mites, ants, and larvas. So I began, but my inventory got full. Time to make some storage, which required clover leaves. At the same time, I was running out of water, getting dehydrated again. I wondered if there was a way to store liquids. After drinking a dewdrop from a leaf, I found a patch of clover. Using that let me craft my first couple of storage baskets. One feature I really appreciated was that I could craft items without carrying the materials in my inventory, as long as they were stored in nearby baskets. Since this place was shaping up to be my main base, I added a roasting spit so I could cook more bug meat. Next on my list was a water container, which required acorn shells. I set out to find some. On the way, I discovered a new location, Hatchery Ant Hill, south entrance. Ants were crawling out of the ground. Using my shovel, I thought I could dig up some loot, but it was a larva instead. This time I killed it with my bow, with no problems. I was able to recover my arrows from its corpse too, so that was nice. I fought some worker ants, collecting their parts to use for crafting later. While looking for acorns, I stumbled across a sleeping spider and... I made it inside, but I was already dehydrated and had no water. I ran out of time and ended up dying of thirst. Back at my base, I finally crafted a water container. I wasn't sure how it worked, so I set it next to my other stations. In the meantime, I needed more ant parts for new weapons. After killing another larva, I analyzed all my new insect parts. The ant parts unlocked the recipes for new armor and also got me to brain power level 3. The next morning, I checked my water container, but it was empty. Not sure how it works. I wanted that new ant armor set, so I headed into the ant hill to hunt. Inside, it was really dark, so I had to take out my torch. The tunnels went really deep, with no signs of ants at first, until I ran into 2 of them. I used my bow against them until I ended up without any arrows left. One of them went down, but I was on the verge of dying. I had to go to the surface to heal. Tempted to continue, I faced the ant once more, but it stunned me. I ended up dying in the process. My equipment took even more damage. My spear was nearly destroyed, so I decided to craft a new weapon, a war hammerlet. Armed with this, I went back to retrieve my backpack. Trying the hammer out, I was able to stun an ant with it. It was incredibly effective. Once I got my backpack, I explored deeper into the ant hill, where I found some scientific equipment and computer consoles. The tunnels split into multiple pathways. I even came across the Ominent logo, the corporation that shrunk me down. The place was like a maze. I picked up some bandages and granola bars from a shelf, earned some science points by grabbing one of those strange orbs, and came across dead roots I couldn't break. They were blocking my path. Further on, a mutation alert popped up. I had unlocked something called Javelineer, which increased my spear damage when thrown. I realized I could unlock mutations by focusing on different playstyles. For example, fighting with fists increased fist damage, using bows boosted bow damage, and so on. I was still completely lost in the tunnels, but eventually I came across some doors that led me to a room with beds, where I finally got some sleep. This place had a water cooler I could drink from. I took a sip and found another blocked path obstructed by those dead roots. There wasn't much else here, but I managed to find some fiber bandages and granola bars. I spent a long time trying to find my way out, but I managed to return to the surface once again. Back at the resource analyzer, I scanned the mandibles I got from the red ant, unlocking more recipes, and I also crafted a set of mighty claws. With this, I could perform a dash strike by holding the attack button, which was nice. If I could finish the full red ant armor set, I would get bonuses like reduced stamina cost when using ant weapons, including the claws. I crafted a pair of armed guards, but I still needed more parts to complete the rest. The water container was still empty. I had no idea if it was even working. At that point, I felt like it was time to build a proper home instead of the messy setup I had. So I started chopping lots of grass. Checking the ranger station, I unlocked multi-story bases, which gave me access to a grass floor recipe. Then construction began. I placed 4 of those on the ground and started laying the planks bit by bit. At one point, I got stuck. I couldn't move at all. Thankfully, I was able to destroy the floor and break free. Next, I began setting up the walls. The problem was, the windows require stems. While walking around, I came across a new plant which had thistle needles. This was the thing that I needed to craft more arrows, so I climbed the plant, grabbing all the needles I could. The view from up top was amazing. I got so distracted that I didn't realize I was dying from dehydration. Thankfully, I managed to rush back down and drink from a water drop, just in time. After making a bunch of arrows at the workbench, I came across a dandelion. Chopping it down gave me exactly what I needed. The stems were huge and had to be carried over my shoulder. I also collected the dandelion tuft. A pop-up said that it would let me glide through the air while falling. I will try that out later. As night approached, I brought the stems back to my base and started placing them on the walls. While building, I decided to relocate the water container and place it directly under a hanging water drop. It worked. If I kept it there, I might be able to collect water passively. My tiny home was finally starting to take shape. Just a few more walls and the door and it would be complete. A few moments later, I saw movement ahead. It was a spider. Terrifying. I watched as a couple of flies tried to escape from its webs, but they were stuck. I hate spiders. Nearby, I found even more dandelions and chopped them down. I also placed a trail marker here to be able to return to the pond easily. Finally, my home was complete. Well, almost. It still needed a roof, but it was coming along nicely. I made a plank pallet to organize the grass and moved my tent inside the house. It was the first night I got to sleep surrounded by 4 actual walls. After that, I finished the roof. It was a small, dark shack, but it was mine. I relocated some of my stations inside. Even though space was tight, I managed to fit everything. I also crafted some knee protection. I still didn't have the helmet though. I needed to harvest more ant parts. At this point, I felt ready to continue with the main objective, to investigate the Snackbar anthill. Before leaving, I analyzed some nut foss to unlock even more recipes. On my way out, I tried to kill some ants, but I accidentally hit a ladybug. It suddenly turned its eyes red and it started chasing me. It took away a huge chunk of my health. The thing was terrifying. I ran as fast as I could and entered the anthill. Once inside, I found a milk molar. The description said I could slurp the vitamin-infused pulp to grow stronger. I broke it with my Omnitool and picked it up. Checking the menu, this could be used to increase my max health, stamina, hunger, healing, and even boost the number of active mutations I could equip. Since I kept dying so often, I went with max health. I continued fighting ants and gathering their parts. This place was a maze. I didn't know where I was or where I had already been. Going even deeper, I found the corpse of an employee. This had to be the researcher Miss Beaumont was looking for. I looted the backpack and found a new Omnitool shovel upgrade and a recording tape. I give it a listen.
All these backstabbers in the taming program. It's like they don't even care if we succeed in riding insects. They're hiding the eggs so they could steal my hatchery design.
The researcher had been working on a project involving riding insects. Next to the body, I found some buried treasure. I dug it up and got an optical disc and a myrmecologist token. Apparently, I needed to insert the disc into a terminal. I also came across a clay deposit and dug it up. I remembered I needed clay for an upgrade, so that was great. While fighting more ants, I unlocked a new mutation called Ambush. It said I had mastered the art of lurking in the shadows to deliver yoked blows, basically sneak attacks. Critical hits against creatures that hadn't noticed me yet. And if I used daggers, ambush damage would increase even more. I activated the mutation and got some raw science for it. Eventually, I got out of the anthill. Climbing some plants, I ran into a new insect. It was a caterpillar. I wasn't sure if I should kill it. Maybe I could ride it in the future, so I left it alone. Next to it, I found some raw science. Then I finally tested the dandelion glide. It worked like a parachute. It was pretty cool. On day 12, I analyzed the clay I had found. That unlocked the recipes for making foundations. After that, I went to the ranger station terminal and inserted the optical disc. It said there were more eminent discs scattered throughout the map, and I could bring them here to unlock more data. Doing this expanded the science shop with new upgrades. I got a call from Miss Sloan. I told her about the body and the recovered data. She told me that the writing project installations were near the onboarding facility inside an anthill. With my help, we could complete the research. So I unlocked the hatchery from the science shop, which let me build structures for hatching wild eggs, including a buggy companion and a cozy resting spot for timbered soldier ants. I also unlocked the Omni Wrench, a tool used to repair gear. To build the hatchery, I needed stems, acorns, and mite fuzz. It was time to loot. I spent the rest of the day fighting mites, chopping down dandelions, and looking for acorns. The next day, I came across some spider egg sacs. I was curious to see what they dropped, so I destroyed them. As you can imagine, this was an excellent idea. Spiderlings started to attack me. I had to jump on top of a mushroom and use my bow to take them out one by one. Once things calmed down, I resumed my search for the last acorn I needed. This is a good time to mention I have a phobia of insects. Big insects. You have no idea how much I was screaming while I was recording that. To make things worse, I was dying of thirst. I managed to find some water just in time and quickly crafted some bandages to heal up. On day 14, I was able to make a red ant helmet. I also crafted a nifty needle, which gave my fully charged bow shots bonus damage. I still needed 3 acorn shells to finish the hatchery. While collecting some, I came across a snail. Curious about what I could craft with it, I tried to break its shell to see if there was anything useful. But to do that, I needed a tier 3 Omnitool, which I didn't have, of course. Back at the lab, I analyzed some new materials and unlocked a recipe for grub goggles. This would increase damage to enemy weak spots and allow attacks to charge faster. Perfect for a bow build. One last acorn shell was needed for the hatchery. The best way to find more was trees. So, looking up, I tried to head towards one. I managed to do so, but night was coming and I was far away from my base. Once I destroyed the acorn, I was terrified. The way back was really scary. I wasn't sure if I was seeing bugs or not thanks to so much darkness. Thankfully, I managed to arrive back to my base and build the hatchery. With it, I could hatch my own buggy. If I found the right egg and added the correct ingredients, I could raise a red soldier ant of my own. To hatch a buggy, I needed more grub hide. I wasn't sure where to find it, so first I wanted to get the egg itself. I headed to the nearby anthill. While exploring, I realized that the torch in the crafting wheel had different tiers. I could make a slime mold torch using the glowing mold scattered around the tunnels. Here is where things got confusing. I thought I found the egg, actually several of them, taking them all back to my base. I wasn't sure what to do with them, since the objective still said to retrieve an egg. I couldn't use the hatchery to incubate them, so I went back to the anthill. That's when I stumbled upon a research lab. In the center of the room, there was an egg suspended in the air, and on a desk, I found a recording tape. That's when I understood. I needed a soldier ant egg, and what I grabbed were just normal ant eggs. To complicate things further, I was dying of dehydration. I finally managed to find the correct egg. I had to carry it with my own hands. I couldn't put it in my inventory. The problem was, doing this lured all the ants to me. They attacked me, making me drop the egg. I picked it up again while being surrounded by them, running for my life. The chase was relentless, and I was dying from thirst. I kept running as fast as possible, but I ended up collapsing from lack of water. Thankfully, the egg's location was now marked as a waypoint. I went back, recovered both the egg and my backpack, and made it to the surface. Back home, one last thing was missing: grub hide. The next day, I started looking around my base for grubs. At one point, I saw movement in the ground. I used my shovel and found the creature. Got exactly what I needed. With this, I was able to incubate the egg. Now, I just had to wait 12 in-game hours for it to hatch. With time to spare, I went hunting for more grubs, since several recipes require their materials. I dug up another one, and from killing creatures with my fists, I unlocked a new mutation called Little Fist. I learned I could only have 2 active mutations at once, so I chose Little Fist and Ambush. For the rest of the day, I did some hunting, escaped from a spider, grabbed some more grubs, and analyzed materials, unlocking new recipes. On day 18, the egg was ready. I hatched a red soldier ant buggy. These excel at harvesting and hauling. I was able to pet it, which was really cute, and of course, mount it. The running speed was incredible. It had its own stamina and health bar at the bottom of the screen. All of a sudden, someone started hacking me.
Your Scabby 2K was so easy to hack into. Don't think I'll let you get comfortable out there.
I was amazed with my mount. I could jump, even block. The ant lifted its legs to protect me. It looked so good. It also had a gathering mode that worked like a vacuum, picking up any items in front of me. Lastly, I could whistle for it to follow me anywhere. Thanks to the grub hide I got, I was able to make a crimson saber and also a red ant club. The buggy even had its own storage. With its speed, I was able to hunt grubs much faster, finding several in a short time. This mount was game-changing. With all the materials I had, I crafted a grub vest, leggings, and goggles to boost my bow damage. I also made a crimson buckler, a shield for close combat. Back at the lab, the phone rang. I told Sloan about the ant and how incredible it was, and I also told her about the hacker. She gave me new coordinates to retrieve an optical disc that could help against her. This new location was north of my position, somewhere I had never explored before. I took my ant and headed towards the objective. On the way, I came across baby cockroaches. They didn't attack, but they were disgusting. Fighting them made their eyes turn red. They weren't tough, and with my ant, I killed all 3 easily and harvested their remains. Then I saw the real threat. The cockroach wasn't the only new creature in the area. I also saw butterflies in the distance. I climbed up a knife and reached the top of a table with broken cookies, a plastic cup, and even some cake. Seeing it all from my size was amazing. I found another milk molar and wanted to upgrade my max health, but it required 2, so I went with more stamina instead. The view from up there was incredible. Jumping down made me learn that fall damage existed. My aunt was stunned but recovered quickly. Soon after, a giant scorpion ambushed me. It was terrifying and fast. I ran away and managed to lose it. I was fascinated by all the bugs. I observed how a butterfly fought a stink bug. I jumped in to help the butterfly. My ant fought alongside me, and together we managed to win. Searching for some water, I ran into a bombardier beetle that attacked us on sight. The corpse exploded on death, giving me a sizzle effect. After killing a baby scorpion, I saw how a cockroach appeared to eat the remains. It was disgusting and fascinating. The objective was behind some of those dead roots I couldn't break before, but with my new buggy, I was able to destroy them. The bad news, this was the home of a giant scorpion. It refused to follow me outside, so I had no choice but to fight. The thing went underground, which was terrifying. Quickly, I grabbed the optical disc and heard from the hacker.
I rolled over on it like a steamroller, but I'm kind of curious if you're last week. I'll be sending you a test. A little violent test. You better be ready.
Back at the lab, I analyzed new materials and unlocked armor sets: roach armor, scorpion armor, and beetle armor. By inserting the new disc into the terminal, I received 1,000 raw science, and I could now unlock the smithing station, which I did. I also unlocked spike strips for base defense. There was an acorn turret available too, but I decided to leave that for later. I had a long list of things to craft, starting with the smithing station, which required brittle whetstone and brittle plating. I wasn't sure how to get those yet, so I moved on to other things. While chopping some grass, I discovered that my ant was able to carry a lot of planks and even deposit them directly into the pallet without dismounting. I checked what other crafting station I could build and decided on the spinning wheel. Since there was no space inside my home, I set it up outside temporarily. With this, I could make crude rope from plant fiber and silk rope from web fiber. It wasn't instant though, it required some time to process. After it was done, I analyzed it and unlocked the spider stringer bow. In order to craft that, I had to get the orb weaver chunks and fangs. That meant I had to kill spiders to make it. Before heading out, I wanted to free up inventory space, so I went looking for acorn shells to craft a bigger chest. On the way, I ran into an orb weaver junior. My ant fought it up close, while I fired arrows. Together, we managed to defeat it and harvested its parts. Unlocking new recipes at the analyzer, I still needed to kill more spiders for rarer materials though. After killing another orb weaver and harvesting an acorn, I was able to make a storage chest, which held much more space than the baskets. With my inventory cleared, I returned to the ant hill to break some dead roots and get to the unexplored places. Behind one of them, I discovered sturdy quartzite, but I couldn't harvest it without an upgraded Omni tool. I also found some clay I couldn't dig and a mega milk molar I couldn't bust. Upgrading my hammer was now crucial, so I went back to the lab to check the requirements. I needed a ladybug head and something called lingonberry leather, which I had no idea how to get. I also needed blueberry leather for the axe upgrade. Continuing with the main objective, I needed to prepare defenses to fight off the hackers' forces. I built some spike strips. With that done, the orc wave was incoming. A huge number of bugs arrived. I climbed onto my house to shoot from above, but the enemies looked strange, like they had something attached to them. The hacker said I needed more practice if I wanted to see my robot friend again. She had Borgel hostage. After respawning, I built more spike traps to prepare for another assault. Everything was damaged. I had no idea they could do that, so I spent the rest of the day repairing. Round 2 was about to begin. I surrounded my base with more spike strips and cut down all the grass surrounding my house for a clear line of sight. Finally, the wave arrived. My buggy was knocked out almost immediately. I tried to save it, but it was impossible. The attackers destroyed my house. I ran in circles, healing with bandages, trying to stay alive. They kept taking everything apart. I managed to get back on top of my home to have the high ground. Against all odds, I managed to kill the remaining bugs.
So you passed my little test then. Good. I'll keep checking on your progress. Can't have you falling behind. My soldiers are just a radio signal away, so stay on your toes.
My base was in ruins. It was a disaster, but the good news, my buggy revived. I gave it a good pat. The little guy gave its best defending our home. The place was a mess, so it was time to put everything back together. I rebuilt the walls, windows, pallets, and repaired everything, including the roasting spit and floors. While searching for water, I fought a spider and earned a new mutation, plus another milk molar. I talked with Mrs. Sloan about the invasion. Because of the hacker tampering with my device, they had created a back door. This would let us trace the signal back to her, possibly even to my robot friend's location. Sloan downloaded a hacking toolkit onto my device. I could now use it to scrape data from ORC transmitters and shut them down. While checking the map, I tried a new resource search function. I could scan for any resource I needed. It was incredible. I wished I had it earlier. After repairing the last bits of my base, I went to sleep. Before setting out, I checked the new mutation I had unlocked, Cardio Fan. By running out of stamina, I had unlocked faster stamina regeneration. Of course, I activated it. I also reviewed my milk molar upgrades and increased my healing ability. My next objective was to locate the ORC transmitters. One of them was at the picnic table area, so I prepared for the long and risky trip up north by crafting plenty of bandages. On the way, I discovered a location called Buster Cup Gun. It was literally a gun I could climb. Nearby, there were butterflies and bees. The bees were intimidating, but they didn't attack. I even got close to one that was sleeping. It actually was snoring. After picking up a flower petal, I encountered an orc weevil. It exploded on contact. These dropped a material called unstable goo. I ran into more of them as I searched for a way to climb the picnic table, but it was really dark and I was struggling to find the path. I had to retreat and set up a tent to spend the night. The next morning, I managed to get further. This time, I crossed through a bridge of sorts. It actually was a hammer, but it functioned as a bridge. This led me to a new location, the briefcase. It had a coded lock that could be adjusted one digit at a time. I didn't know the password yet, but I made a note to return later. Nearby, I stumbled into an area where I started taking the chill effect. A bar appeared on the top as the cold built up. Inside, it was full of snow. It looked like a cave, but it actually was a fridge cooler. I will need to come back here with a torch and some cold weather gear. I wanted to see if I could reach the table by climbing on top of the suitcase, but there was no way up. Maybe if I opened it, it would serve as a platform. Or perhaps climbing the cooler would lead me to the top. Getting cold resistance was a priority now. On my way back, I got into a fight with the bee. It was really tough, but I managed to take it down and harvest the remains. But what I didn't think was that a group of ants would swarm us, killing my buggy and me. I respawned back at my base, but my ant didn't. It was missing. I hoped it would come back soon. Maybe there was a cooldown or something. I received a message from the hacker saying they would attack today once again. I really needed my buggy back, but since it was not here, I decided to improvise. I built multiple platforms I could stand on to shoot from above. My plan was to connect them so I could hop from one to the other. While building, I discovered that pressing the X key made my character hold their hands like binoculars, letting me place waypoints and even take photos of creatures. I tested it on a weevil and saw that I had killed 13 of them. It had no weaknesses or resistances. Interesting. This definitely wasn't the most visually pleasing home base, but I hoped it would work to survive the night. I also hoped my buggy would return. Then the wave arrived. My strategy worked. But my buggy wasn't here. I wondered if he was going to come back. At least I had managed to defend myself from the massive attack. I decided it was time to unlock the acorn turret and bought it at the terminal. To build it, I needed flower petals. Since I had dropped everything when I died earlier, I needed to retrieve my backpack. I also needed more silk rope. I built a hatchery to see if that made my ant return, but it didn't. I realized I could also build an ant nest. After constructing it, my ant didn't return. I was heartbroken. I crafted a canteen and repaired my armor before going to sleep. On day 33, I had no other choice than to start looking for a new egg to hatch, but the hacker sent another message saying they would attack soon. Annoyed, I built more platforms, just like last time. While building, I accidentally held the T key and saw the red soldier ant marked as unavailable. I unassigned it, but it didn't reappear. It was gone. I even tried closing the game and reloading, but nothing worked. I had to accept that my friend was gone. I gathered thistle needles to restock my arrows for the fight ahead. Then, the worst wave I've ever encountered began. My priority was to find a new egg and hatch a new buggy. I needed it to progress. I delved into the ant hill and managed to grab one. I had to endure constant attacks from the ants, but I made it back to the surface. Finally, I was able to start incubating it. I needed to wait 12 in-game hours once again. While waiting, I analyzed some bee fuzz, unlocking the recipes for bee armor. I checked what else I could craft, and I saw I could make weaver daggers from spider fangs. I began producing more silk rope in the spinning wheel. I also found a recipe for armor that could help with cold resistance, but it required lingonberry leather, which I did not have. While browsing my construction options, I built a smoothie station, which could be used to create consumables. I prepared liquid rage to boost my damage and green machine to increase stamina regeneration. Completing this objective rewarded me with raw science. To craft new weapons, I needed more orb weaver fangs. The only thing I could make was a red ant club. I also made arrows and spent some time repairing my base. At last, my new buggy hatched. I swore I would take better care of this one. I headed north to retrieve my dropped gear. The troops were coming soon, but I did not stop. I recovered my backpack. Then I spotted something on a leaf. It was a praying mantis. I tried attacking it, but it had tons of health, and the sound it made was terrifying. I decided to leave it. Before returning home, I set out to collect flower petals to be able to build a turret, but I was interrupted by a mosquito. It was disgusting, and before I knew it, I was dead. At least my buggy was unharmed. Continuing my journey, I noticed a new icon on the left side of my screen. It looked like a microscope. The signal grew stronger depending on where I went. I could not find anything, so I marked the location with a trail marker. Suddenly, the orc wave was incoming. To my surprise, the enemies followed me wherever I went instead of attacking my base. I tried to run. Then, a notification said I was defeated by someone's attack, so I just set up a tent and slept through the night. On day 37, I found a group of larvas with receivers on their heads, along with the mind-controlled red soldier ant. After defeating them, I located the entrance to a lab. Inside, I used a scanner at the resource analyzer. The place had a ranger station, a water cooler, and even a storage chest containing a blueberry chunk. Also, I discovered a pneumatic transit system, a fast travel point. I used the machine and it took me to a different location where I collected brittle quartzite shards. Unfortunately, I could not open the door, but maybe if I reached it from the other side, I could unlock it. Returning through the transit system, I analyzed the blueberry chunk to unlock blueberry leather. This allowed me to locate the blueberry chunks on the map. There were some nearby and others on the far side of the yard. I set a waypoint. This new ranger outpost called trash bags was really useful. I tried to find the nearby blueberries but could not spot them, so I headed to retrieve my backpack. Along the way, I found an orb weaver fighting an ant. I took advantage of this to fight the spider, killing it and unlocking a new mutation, sharpshooter, which increased critical hit chance with fully charged bow shots. I already had 2 mutations active, so I checked my milk molar points to increase my max active mutations. Unfortunately, it required 3 molars, and I only had 1. Since I used the bow often, I decided to keep ambush active and replace my other mutation with sharpshooter. I finally retrieved my backpack. Since I was close to a missing optical disc, I decided to check if I could find it. Arriving at the place, I killed the spider, but couldn't find the disc. It was probably underground, so I searched for any nearby ant hills. I came across the toxic ant hill south entrance. I was not sure if this was what I was looking for, but it looked promising. Inside, there were both living and dead ants. I also noticed something on the roof that looked like a donut, along with some kind of spray bottle on the ground. The water did not look nice. There were tons of dead red ants here, as well as some cockroaches. Disgusting. I kept going deeper and found bones. I could not tell what creatures they belonged to. The deeper I went, the more unsettled I felt. The tunnels were a maze, and I eventually found another exit without discovering anything significant. I probably missed something. But then a new microscope icon appeared. I was close to another lab, and I found it. Inside was another storage area with valuable loot, including a lingonberry chunk. I analyzed it, unlocking the lingonberry leather recipe. This lab also had a scabby customizer that required some materials. There was also an omnitool customizer, but I was missing the resources as well. I looted some brittle quartzite shards before leaving. Back home, I finished building the Acorn turret and began crafting ammo for it. I made 25 rocky rounds. At the smoothie station, I was able to make a chill reduction smoothie called the Blazing Brew. This could help me access the cooler and reach the picnic table. However, I needed some materials I hadn't found yet: apple bits and spicy chard. Later that night, the invasion arrived. I tried using the turret, but I could not tell if I was hitting anything. Something with the positioning must be wrong. I switched to my bow and won the battle. My next task was to get the lingonberry leather to unlock the Omni Hammer. Crafting it required 3 lingonberry chunks. I located them on the map. There were some between my area and the picnic table. While searching, I found a sleeping mosquito. I tried taking advantage of this by landing a critical strike, but the bastard hit hard. The fight was intense. Its attacks were difficult to evade. I kept dodging as much as I could. Fortunately, we were able to kill it and harvest its parts. Eventually, I found the lingonberries, but I could not chop them. I realized I needed to upgrade my axe first, not the hammer. This meant finding blueberries chunks first. The map showed there were some near the picnic table. I looked around the blaze, but found nothing. They were likely on the top. Checking the map, I spotted some on the ice cream cart area southeast of my location. I decided to head there. On the way, I killed a caterpillar and analyzed its parts at the lab, unlocking level 6 brain power, a ladybug armor set, and an orc nullifier. When I reached the location, the hacker sent a message claiming the berries were hers and warned me to stay away. That meant I was on the right path. I collected as many blueberries as I could, but not without complications. A bee attacked and knocked out my buggy. I proceeded to take my revenge, and I was able to revive my companion. I promised to never leave it alone again. Once I had enough berries, I returned home, where I was able to craft some leather. I finally upgraded my Omni Axe to tier 2, which would allow me to finally gather lingonberries. I analyzed the blueberry leather and unlocked the ability to craft a target dummy and standing target. With my new axe, I finally chopped down the lingonberries, taking as many as I could. I crafted some leather back at the base, and after analyzing it, another invasion hit. I used my turret to kill a butterfly, but at the same time, a ladybug knocked out my buggy. I couldn't let it get away, so I fired arrow after arrow until taking it down. I was able to heal my ant just in time. This was perfect. Having killed the ladybug was just what I needed. Thanks to its parts, I was able to upgrade my Omni Hammer to tier 2. The last one remaining was the shovel, but it required the northern scorpion stinger and pine needle. By analyzing the butterfly parts, I unlocked a recipe for new boots. These were meant for a mage, which I found really interesting. I'll love to try other classes soon. With my upgraded hammer, I returned to the ant hill to mine what I couldn't before. I found brittle quartzite and brittle marble. Both were used to upgrade equipment at the smithing station. I spent the rest of the day gathering as much material as I could. Back at the workbench, I crafted brittle whetstone and brittle plating. With these, I finally built a smithing station. My red ant club was level 0, normal. Upgrading it to level 1, tough, would give 10% more damage and 10% more durability, costing 5 brittle whetstones. I of course did it. I skipped upgrading my bow since I wanted a better one first. I didn't want to waste the materials. Another thing I wanted to make was the smoothie Blazing Brew, but it needed spicy shards and apple bits. Probably could find them around the picnic area. Then I realized I could make mighty muffs for chill reduction and fuzzy mucklocks. With the new gear, I finally was able to enter the fridge cooler. The place was really cold, but I survived nonetheless. I found the corpse with the torch and also a bunch of icicles that provided ice splinters. After gathering a milk molar, I climbed all the way to the very top. The view was incredible. It was time to do what I had to do. I reached the orc transmitter and hacked it. This angered the mind-controlled ladybug. I got on top of a plastic cup and started firing arrows. What caught me off guard was how the spider teamed up with it and knocked out my buggy. I managed to kill the ladybug, but as if things weren't bad enough, the orc wave hit. I was finished. My buggy was gone. I had no food, no dandelions to glide away. I was seconds away from starving too. I tried waiting for my buggy to reappear, but then it was stuck inside the briefcase. Once I finally was able to mount it, it was already too late. My body collapsed from starvation. I decided to continue the main objective and find the soldiers by the pines. There, I saw a huge orc weaver spider. I was able to break some dead roots with my buggy. The place was full of webs, but before venturing deeper, I needed to kill the spiders.
Do I need to hire a babysitter for you? I have a lot going on, okay? So I'm only gonna say this once. Do not mess with my army or the treasures they guard.
Turns out the spiders were guarding 2 milk molars. Now I had a total of 4, so I increased my max active mutations. My next main objective was to reach the orc transmitter at the garbage can, all the way to the south of the map. Since I was close to the picnic table, I wanted to see if I could retrieve my backpack. On the way, I found some spicy candy I could bust open, getting spicy shards. Once I got my bag, I took a look around the table and found the number 137 written down. Maybe this could be one of the codes for the suitcase. I needed to find the other one. Another thing I ran into was an eaten apple. I was able to chop it up and get fresh apple bits. Since it was getting really dark, it was time to head back. I figured this was the perfect place to use the dandelion. So I jumped off the table, gliding away peacefully. I love the moments like this. The game was truly beautiful. The next day, I traveled to the garbage can area, but on the way, I found a feather I could chop. Interesting. Once I arrived, I realized this zone was poisonous. No matter which angle I approached it from, the gas got to me. The place was full of rotten food, cockroaches, and more. It was awful. I tried fighting the cockroach, but things went south. It was pure chaos. The cockroach fought a ladybug, then a stink bug, and even my buggy, which inevitably went down. At one point, I thought the cockroach was dead, but it turns out it was faking. It came back to life and started to escape at an insane speed. It was missing its head. It was headless. Fortunately, I managed to kill it, but problems didn't stop there. The stink bug came after me. I didn't want to fight it, but it kept chasing me. I tried running to save my buggy, but it was gone. I did my best, but it wasn't enough. I died once again. One thing was clear. I needed a gas mask. Back at the workbench, I was surprised to see that I had all the materials to craft one. On day 50, I returned to the garbage can. The gas mask worked perfectly. First, I retrieved my backpack, of course. Then, I explored the bottom of the can to see if there was any way of climbing. I managed to find something around the side, reaching what looked like a rotten hot dog. I actually could chop it, which I found quite funny. Carefully, I made my way along a twig into the trash can, climbing slowly and collecting some raw science. I thought it was a dead end, but just as I looked to the other side, I was able to jump onto a spoon. This whole section was quite tricky, almost like a puzzle, trying not to fall. I followed another twig around, going out and inside again. Lastly, I climbed onto a rope. I could see the top. The view from here was actually incredible, but one wrong move would mean death and losing all my progress. Fortunately, I made the jump onto the top of the can. I needed to hack the orc transmitter, but there was a mind-controlled stink bug in the the way. I attacked it with my arrows, aiming for the head. For some reason, the creature seemed stuck, so it was quite easy to take it down. My buggy fought the baby cockroaches, which were very resistant to damage, but I helped finish them off. With the stink bug gone, I hacked the transmitter. With that done, I slowly descended through the trash can and managed to get back to my home, where another enemy wave arrived. I had to kill a butterfly, tons of red soldier ants, and another ladybug, but we came through victorious. After the fight, this place was an absolute mess. I was missing the wall and the roof. I needed to get my things together. So I decided it was time to put my base back into shape. I unlocked pebbled foundations, furnishing, and a clover roof. I grabbed tons of pebbles. I also analyzed the materials I had with me. For example, the spicy item unlocked spicy arrows, which were the spider's weakness. The feather I found unlocked a simple bed recipe, a marksman cap, and pointy rounds. I also reached level 7 brain power, unlocking a disruptor arrow. I tried to make some foundations, but I didn't really see the point of them. It didn't let me build floors on top of them, and making grass was much cheaper. I decided to keep it simple for now and just make grass floors. First, I focused on making some taller walls. Even made a second floor with some sort of outer balcony. Since there was going to be an attack soon, I finished the roof just in case. I also crafted a spider stringer, finally a better bow. For the next wave of enemies, the turret was quite useful. What I didn't realize was that my balcony was making aiming much more difficult since the bugs were under me. The ladybug even destroyed a part of the second floor. We managed to survive the night, but I needed to improve my design. I decided to push the ground walls forward so I could have an easier time aiming at the bugs from above. I moved everything just a little bit, expanding everything, moving the spike strips. Once that was done, the place was much better prepared for shooting bugs. To keep improving my base, I put some stairs on the second floor and did some final adjustments. I spent some time checking out all the options available at the construction menu, starting with the sap catcher. The next morning, I was able to grab 3 saps from it. Next, I built a cookery, where I could make some elaborate meals like meatloaf. I then crafted a garden patch, where I could plant a catalyst and fertilizer compound to grow something, like a sprig. It would take some time to grow though. Following this, I set up a grinder for processing materials, such as plant fiber from grass planks, clover leaves, and sprigs. I also made a bounce web, which had a huge jump distance and was pretty fun. My little buggy could use it too, which was adorable. What surprised me was that I could adjust the bounce height and angle, so I set it up as a quick way to get to the top of my home to defend the base. Lastly, I made a dew collector to finally have a reliable way to get water, and surrounded my base with lights. For the next wave, I was much better prepared. It was easy to attack from the high ground. The spike strips were wonderful. I decimated all of the bugs. But I wasn't done with the house. After rebuilding the traps and walls, I built myself a proper bed. Finally, I was no longer sleeping inside a tent. This was no longer just about survival. It was about having a nice and cozy place to enjoy. So I set up a table and a chair. I could sit there to think and relax. I also built a grass-side table, making this place a little bit more like a home. Now it was time to focus on combat. I first crafted a marksman's cap, which was well suited for rangers. My priority now was to craft a whole new set of armor. So I left in search of the materials. While looking, I jumped from a really high place and paid the price. I was able to upgrade my spider stringer for more damage and durability, getting a total of 20% bonus. I continued hunting bees. I needed a good amount of parts for the armor set, and then I ran into the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. That thing was insanely strong, so terrifying. I had to wait for my buggy to recover from that fight. Once it healed, I resumed the grind for the bee materials. I also managed to retrieve my backpack. While exploring, I discovered some strange mechanical device called Mix R. I kept fighting bees, which were surprisingly tough, and on my way back, I came across a mantis, and I couldn't resist fighting it. Returning home, I analyzed the mantis parts and unlocked the mantis blade recipe. This was the only tier 3 weapon I had unlocked until now, and it did a lot of damage. It also looked really cool, but in order to craft it, I would have to kill another praying mantis to get more parts. Finally, I was able to make the bee's shoulder pads. Now the leggings were missing. After killing a couple more bees, I was able to craft the whole set. Before continuing with the main objective, I made sure to collect enough needles for arrows since I was running low. With that done, I headed to complete my mission, to find the orc soldiers near the pond. On the way, I found a new lab. The place had a storage room with some loot, including a large number of mint arrows. I took all of them. There was also a lab workbench, which could come in handy. I finally arrived to the objective. There, I had to kill a few mind-controlled beasts.
That could blow out the Scabby 2K speaker! Are you okay? Ma'am, please, release Burgle's head. It's not too late to make amends.
If you want your friend's head, come try to take it from me. Those freaks at Ominous built their network center inside the statue of Wendell and Burgle. You better toughen up before coming here. You won't even survive the first floor. Take your time. We'll be here, waiting for you.
A network facility inside a metal chassis? It must be boiling alive inside.
Back at the lab, I spoke with Mrs. Sloan. She explained that if we could hack the transmitters, we could use the Mix-R machine to disable her army. Sloan found more transmitters to hack, and I needed to destroy them. One objective was in an unexplored area in the ceremony zone. Another was near the statue area. I was really close to a missing optical disc and decided to check it out. The problem was, this zone was frozen, really cold, and I could freeze to death. Checking my mutations, I saw one called Spicy Safety, which gave me chill reduction and freeze resistance. I activated it, but it didn't seem to help much. I was still freezing quickly. I needed to come back here with the winter gear. Following the objective, it led me to a new location, the statue. Moving further, I came across a mind-controlled larva. The place was dark. With my torch in hand, I went deeper until I spotted a stink bug called Major Diesel. My buggy went down in the fight, but the stink bug was stuck. So I kept shooting arrows from a distance until it died. I was pretty lucky. I healed my buggy and moved on. I came across locked doors, but there were some dead roots right next to it I could destroy. Actually, a couple of them. I came back to the surface from the other side and found myself in some sort of stone labyrinth. I moved forward, unsure if I was heading into the right direction. I could see the statue in the distance though, really tall. I did my best to get closer, but night arrived, and I ran out of torches and materials to craft them. Webs covered the area, and I didn't like that. Soon after, a spider attacked. It was hard to fight and move in the dark. I kept destroying the webs, but some bombardier beetles began shooting projectiles from above. Thankfully, I had my bow, but those bugs were resistant to piercing damage. It took a long while to kill them. I eventually found an exit ramp that led me out of the labyrinth. I was closer to the statue, but the area was surrounded by flowers I couldn't pass. Everything was still dark, and it was hard to know where to go. I entered a cavern filled with leaves, again in near darkness, and busted a milk molar that I used to increase my max health. At one point, I ended up on the eastern side of the statue, climbed a twig and grabbed some raw science. Then I fell and got stuck in a corner. I had to leave my buggy to get out. Since it was already past midnight, we were already on day 68. I kept getting stuck in this corner, unsure how to get on top of this damn thing. On the third try, I finally made it and found another milk molar. Unfortunately, this didn't look like the way forward. It was just a dead end. There was a huge wall, but I had no way to climb it. So I went back into the darkness, not knowing where to go. I spotted another mantis, but I didn't want to risk all my progress. Then I saw a new ranger outpost called Rose was guarded. The door seemed guarded by a bee. I ran inside to get cover, and in one of the rooms, I stumbled upon a smaller bee suspended in the air as part of an experiment. As soon as I stepped outside, the bee killed me with one hit. What I just realized was that I had the option to respawn at the nearest outpost. Doing so, I was able to recover my backpack easily, but the same bee killed me again. It broke my gear, including my cap, and I didn't have the materials to repair it. Without the workbench, I was stuck here. This area didn't seem to have a way forward, so I went back into the darkness and emerged into another location. It felt like I was running in circles though, unable to find the correct path. I saw a scorpion guarding some bushes, actually multiple. After killing one of them, I destroyed more dead roots, which let me follow a tree root upwards. Along the way, I fought spiderlings and reached the statue checkpoint. Another locked door blocked my way. I checked everywhere but nothing. Without the materials to craft a torch, navigating in the dark was frustrating. I broke some more dead roots until I had to fight a spider and things went south. Both me and my buggy were defeated, forcing me to respawn again. If I died one more time, my armor would be completely destroyed, leaving me in a terrible position. I waited until my red soldier ant healed, then set out to recover my backpack. In a new area, I spotted another mind-controlled mantis and made sure to keep my distance. While escaping a spider, I fell and had to fight some larvae. I gathered some clover though, which meant I could finally craft a tent for the night. The thing is, starvation was becoming a real threat. I broke another milk molar before returning to the dark area, where I encountered the spider again, with my backpack far below. Carefully, I dropped from leaf to leaf until I reached my bag. Unfortunately, an invasion was about to begin, and I was in no shape to fight. I managed to escape, thankfully, and slept in a tent, finally getting some rest. So I messed up the recording for the next couple of days. In a nutshell, I managed to reach the statue and enter the network center, but I got absolutely annihilated there by an orc cockroach boss. It was time to rethink my whole set. I was too squishy, too weak, so I decided to gather materials for the ladybug armor set. It seemed to provide the most defense, resistance, and overall sustainability. To craft it, I needed more blueberries. I gathered as many of them as I could. Back at the workbench, I was able to make the chest plate and the face plate. But in order to craft the legs, I was missing some flower petals. I also crafted the lady guard shield and an orc nullifier. With this thing, attacks would reduce the damage dealt by orc creatures, which would come in handy to fight the orc cockroach boss that annihilated me earlier. After a quick trip gathering flowers, I was able to finish my full set of armor. The next thing I needed was to change my weapon, and for that, I was going to make a mosquito needle, which had the ability to life steal, healing me with every attack. I went out to harvest their parts. My armor was impressive. I could resist most of the mosquito attacks. With that done, I was able to make the new weapon. It was basically a rapier, fast, with excellent attack speed. I liked it, giving it a few swings. Next, I had to focus on upgrading all my equipment to max level. I ran out of resources doing it, so I wasn't able to finish. That night, an orc wave arrived. It was perfect for testing my new set. I charged straight into the fight, surrounded by ants, but it didn't matter. I could withstand their hits without going down, and with the shield, I was practically untouchable. I killed the ants easily, even facing a ladybug and smashing it without trouble. It was time to get more quartzite and marble so I could continue upgrading my gear. Inside the anthill, I mined everything I could. For multiple days, I kept upgrading, mining, rinse and repeat. I even grabbed a red soldier ant egg to see if I could have more than one buggy. On day 76, I started to hatch it, and of course continued mining. After getting a milk molar, I almost finished upgrading my whole set, including my weapon. The egg wasn't ready, but a message appeared saying, "Already have a buggy following, cannot hatch." There was my answer. After defeating the orc wave, I finally got some rest. I spent all day 78 searching for materials. It seemed I had already mined everything, and nothing had respawned. Without new resources, I had no idea where to look. Back at the base, I crafted as many arrows as I could, including the disruptor arrows I would need for the big fight. I also prepared smoothies and bandages. With everything ready, I set off towards the statue area. Along the way, I found a new ranger outpost guarded by a massive spider. I killed it and went inside, where I used a scanner to open a door, leading me to a pneumatic transit system. I stepped inside and found myself transported all the way to the west side of the map, as I intend to spend the night. On day 81, I finally got closer to the area, entering through the southern entrance. With my torch in hand, I navigated the dark sewers and moved through the stone labyrinth. Along the way, I fought scorpions and discovered the milk molar, which I used to increase my maximum health. I also came across another ranger outpost, but a massive scorpion was guarding the doors. After a tough fight, I managed to defeat it and step inside the new lab. There, I used a scanner again that unlocked the door leading outside of the statue area. It seemed to be a shortcut for skipping the full labyrinth if I ever wanted to return. The next day, I finally found a way inside, climbing a spiraling tree root between the leaves. Leaving my buggy behind, I had to climb a ladder. Inside the network center, it was time for the true test. I used the pneumatic transit system, taking me to level 1, where I fought orc weevils. Level 2 involved ants and larvas, but it wasn't much of a problem thanks to my armor. But then, level 3 arrived. This was where I died the last time. Now, it was time for the real challenge.
Fine. But good luck getting to the next floor.
The next room had a machine with 3 symbols in the bottom. There were also 3 doors. 2 of them required the network center access pass. I found one on a corpse and used it to proceed. After fighting a smaller cockroach, I dropped into a cable zone where I had to repair the wiring. With that finished, I unlocked another door only to face another massive cockroach. Killed them all, activated a relay switch, and dropped into a second cable zone to fix more lines. I had forgotten one switch, so I went back and activated all 3.
3 little relay switches. Damn. Ominin should hire you. Or rehire, in your case, Peter.
Finally, I could press the button, unlocking a new door that led to another pneumatic transit system. The thing took me to another area. I found a server room full of larvas, spiderlings, and ants. I had to face tons of bugs. After climbing some ladders, I came across a room full of cardboard cutouts of Mrs. Sloan and a chest with snail fragments. Fast forward, I reached the last scanner. Traveling through another tube, it led me to the end of the dungeon.
So you finally made it up here. I'm warning you. When you open that door, your final challenge begins. Be ready. I won't hold back.
I would finally face the hacker.
Hello again. In the yard. You were warriors. That's who I want to see. Your true selves. You might have potential. I love this. Don't touch me! Perfect form! Not bad.
I need to keep my composure. Breathe, breathe.
You're not totally weak. I won't go that easy on you again. You can have Burgle's head. I got what I needed. I gotta go. Dr. Wendell Tully is waiting for me.
I found Burgle's head on a desk.
I have sustained more damage than expected. Burgle has information, but Burgle has problem making. Perhaps be there, Burgle, because Burgle, well,
There was also a key I grabbed, alongside a new recipe for a weapon called Spicy Cold Tana. I also collected a new optical disc. Then the phone rang. It was Miss Sloan. She told me we needed to find a way to stop the invaders' attacks. Finally, I was getting really tired of the orc invasions. Sloan unlocked the door to the office balcony. I climbed the ladder and stepped out. Night had fallen and the view was beautiful. I jumped off, gliding with my dandelion. But suddenly an invasion cut me off, attacking me mid-air and making me free fall, crushing to the ground. I was trapped in this place again. I hated that hacker. I needed to put these invasions to an end once and for all. In order to do so, I had to destroy all remaining orc transmitters. On top of that, I had another objective: to hatch a spider egg and make it my new buggy. I made it back to the lab and escaped through the doors, finally free again. I was so glad to return to my home. I scanned the new materials at the resource analyzer and unlocked a new snail armor set. Not only that, the wolf spider parts unlocked a gear set too, even weapons. Amazing. Another thing I wanted to do was to collect the remaining optical discs. Along the way, I killed a mosquito and harvested its parts to repair my blade. Later, I fought a wolf spider and managed to kill it. I wanted to craft its armor set soon. Continuing the search for the discs, I had to fight a cockroach queen. I was able to defeat it and picked up what I wanted, right next to a dead body. Then, while chopping some mushrooms, I stumbled upon a secret weapon hidden inside a small cavern. It was the gloom skewer. I had no idea there were unique weapons lying around in the open world. That was amazing. Back at the lab, I inserted the optical disc into the ranger station and unlocked the recipe for both the orb weaver buggy and the spider nest. I also purchased a new scanner module that allowed my device to detect raw science nearby. With that done, I went out and grabbed a spider egg. It needed 24 hours of incubation in order to grow. The day after, I went inside a spider anthill. Within the cavern, I found another optical disc next to a dead body. Things seemed good until somehow a wolf spider got inside. It was so massive it barely fit inside the tunnel, and just like that, it killed me. At least I still had the disc with me when respawning. I was able to insert the disc into the ranger station and unlock a new recipe: smithing brittle plating. With it, I could easily craft plating whenever I needed. On day 89, the egg was ready. I had a new buggy. It was huge. I loved how the thing looked exactly like the spiders I faced. The creature even had the same moveset. I was able to block with its web as a shield. Its speed was unmatched, and it could intimidate enemies with a scream. My favorite thing was its ability to throw webs to trap enemies on the spot. The funniest part was, the spider could also jump onto the bounce web I had. Running it was incredible. It was much faster than the ant. I was able to break free from web traps easily. I even managed to climb a tower by walking on some sort of bridge web. After that, I tried climbing the whole thing by myself. Although it was really risky, I was able to do so and hack the orc transmitter. I didn't manage to survive the orc invasion though. Thankfully, I was one step closer to getting rid of them for good. Although, one thing confused me. The orc transmitter still appeared on the map, even after I hacked it. Actually, all of the transmitters still were on the map, so it was hard to keep track which ones were left standing. Nonetheless, I had a new objective now: finding the orc soldiers near the lectern. The problem was the location was blocked by dead roots, and only an ant buggy could break them. I couldn't send my spider buggy back home since I still needed to build a spider nest. So I returned home, built the nest, and managed to switch back to my ant buggy. With the dead root now destroyed, the hacker contacted me.
You need to stay away from this place. There are valuable minerals out here that would be on you. This fight is between me and Ominent. Stay out of it.
I went inside the nest and killed all the scorpions, completing the objective. I continued searching for the next orc transmitter, heading all the way to the west of the map. It was located on a frisbee. I managed to hack the thing, but the bugs killed me on the spot again. But it didn't matter. I was so close to finishing this. Next, I had to fight the orc soldier by the fire pit. On my way, I reached a massive backpack. I was able to crouch under it.
Stop right there! You were gonna turn around and leave my candies and the soldiers guarding them alone. I ordered them to kill Ominent villains, but they won't think twice before attacking you two. Something is happening in this park that you can't understand. Not even if I sat you down and explained it all in detail.
Eventually, after breaking through more dead roots, I found the orc soldiers. After a failed attempt, I came back and finished the job. With that, all the transmitters and objectives were complete. Time to end the invasions once and for all. I had to overload the Mix-R machine. Once there, I prepared for the incoming invasion by building up some walls. I even built an acorn turret. My big mistake was I forgot to bring ammo for it. I initiated the overdrive, but the battle, it was pure chaos. All the bugs, all of them appeared, including a mantis. They managed to destroy the machine. I needed to try one more time. I had to prepare properly. I spent a lot of time improving the defenses around the machine, setting up more walls. I then crafted ammo for the turret back home. It was time to settle this.
Now I have to throw the kitchen sink at you. I treated you so well. This is how you thank me? You think I assembled an army for fun? I worked so hard!
We didn't want your army to kill us is all.
We did it. We won. This was it. We completed all the story missions available until now. This may feel like the end, but it was only the beginning. These were my first 100 days in Grounded 2, but more updates are on the horizon, so expect a part 2 when the time comes. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon.